This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, Superfans? Ricky Widmer here, along with Dave Oster.
Hey, buddy.
Sean, unable to be here, I'm assuming because of work. He told us last week that, hey, we should probably do a fast break earlier because he cannot do this week. So you're going to get one of those this weekend as well, just Dave and I. But we're here for Superfans where we talk about everything in Chicago sports. Before I get into the jam-packed show we got today, talking Bears, talking Bulls, talking Cubs, make sure to check us out, patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. If you want to help support the show, either for $1, $5, or $10, you can, at the $1 tier, join our Discord. Greatest group on the internet. I love those guys and talking to them.
Fantastic.
24/7 access with us in the Discord group. $5, you get to submit your questions to the podcast, and we respond to them on here. And then $10 tier, the most popular tier, you get to join any podcast of your choosing each month and talk about what you would like to talk about with the MVP guys. And Dave, like I said, we're talking Bulls. Should they replace Bears? Should they replace Mitch Trubisky? I flipped Bulls and Bears. I was originally going to have Bulls first, but we'll do Bears first. Should they replace Mitchell Trubisky? Then we have a segment that Brandon and I recorded earlier this week where we talk about the Cubs hiring David Ross and kind of what that means for the Cubs' future. And then you and I will finish the podcast talking about the Bulls, focusing on Coby White. Could he win the sixth man of the year as a rookie? But, you know, Bulls' frustrations from game one are going to come out in that segment as well. Let's get into the Bears discussion, though. I want to ask this first. Before we get in the should they replace Mitch Trubisky?
Yeah.
Should this even be a conversation right now? Like
100%.
Year two with Mitch and Nagy.
Year three overall.
Year three overall for Mitch. Should this be a conversation, or is it like, because I was talking to Brandon about this because he's a Bears fan also, and he said, oh, it's not even Mitch's fault. It's more Nagy's fault than Mitch. So the first thing before we look into should they replace Mitch, is it really his fault, or should we be putting the blame on Matt Nagy?
Yeah, it's his fault. We watched Matt Nagy's offense last year.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed to be okay, right? We seemed to score some points last year. We were moving the ball forwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
In case I have memory loss here,
yeah.
I believe our offense actually went forwards.
He
on
actually
the field.
ran the ball too, though.
We ran the ball with two guys. They're pretty good guys. Jordan Howard, he's all right. He's doing okay still. Tariq Cohen, actually, offensive weapon. Interesting idea. I think that this is just Mitchell Trubisky might not be, he is the athlete. He might not be the quarterback. He might be better suited, or he might not be suited well for the NFL level, for the speed, for the game plan, for the reading defenses. Like, there's so much that goes into being a quarterback at the pro level, and we've seen glimpses of it from him, but we've not seen him put it all together. And week one of this year was incredibly disappointing because he looked lost out there, like full on just, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what the right read is to make. I don't understand where the defense is lined up. There's so many issues. We also had numerous penalties. And I kind of want to chalk that up to, we didn't really play preseason. Like, throw that game out. Like, it's whatever. It just continued. And then it was publicly stating, we need to simplify the offense for Mitch because Mitch he's not picking things up well.
When you say we got to simplify it for our most important offensive player, that's usually not a good thing.
Yeah, the bus has been thrown. He's been thrown under the bus. Like, it's happened already. And that's where I'm at. If he doesn't get this offense by this point, he's never going to master this offense. And that is why I'm 100% in the blame of this isn't a situation caused by Nagy's ineptitude. This is caused by Mitch being unable to grasp and master all the stuff that by now there's no excuse. You're in year three as a professional quarterback. I get you only had one season of starts in college, and that's pretty unique for someone drafted as high as you were. But this is no longer excusable. I'm a fan, so I'm saying you had some bad games. You're not a good quarterback. You're not going to be that guy in Chicago, in my mind. Now, the beauty of this episode is we're recording this on Friday night. He could go out against the Chargers, throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, look great. But as of right now, that is my take.
I don't think he will. Let's
but
be
that's
completely
my take.
honest. With me, there's one thing I did think, like when Brandon said, oh, well, like it's more Matt Nagy's fault. Like he's not running the ball. His play calls are different.
It's true.
He's not calling the right plays. And I'm sitting there thinking, first off, like you said, if you've got to simplify the offense, Nagy may be overthinking it because of that. Like, all right, I want to do this. Oh, but I can't do that because Mitch can't do that. Like, is that going on in Nagy's head where it's like, and I know the confusing thing for most Bears fans is Mitch was our quarterback last year.
Yep.
What changed between last year and this year? And the thing that I have seen a lot of people post in articles this week, the thing that's starting to get under Bears fans and their craw, like sticking their craw, is, do you remember what Deshaun Watson said on draft night? Do you remember the exact quote? Because I've got it pulled up.
Oh, read me. Okay.
So, for those of you who forget, the big debate back then was who goes first, Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson. Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson. I love how articles also like to throw out, but they could have taken Pat Mahomes. Nobody thought Mahomes was going to be what Mahomes is.
But I picked Watson.
Yes,
if you remember that draft class,
I
picked Watson over Trubisky. And I'm jumping ship.
Love Deshaun Watson. Here's what he said on NFL Network way back in 2017 after the draft. He said, you're going to have to live with the consequences that come with it. That's how I see it. I try to stay in my lane. I try not to take the path. I respect Mitch and what he's done and all the hype he's getting. But at the same time, my result speaks for itself. I feel like I've accomplished everything that I could. I guess if that's who you're going to roll with, so be it. And if I was a Bears fan, because the Bears are the only team on this podcast where I have a different allegiance to. I'm a Vikings fan for some reason.
But we allow it.
If I was a diehard Bears fan, I'd be sitting there to this day going, we should have drafted Deshaun Watson because look what he's doing with the Houston Texans. I know that there's people out there that say you can't take a 1-for-1. Like, who knows? Watson in this situation, year one under John Fox, let's say he does bad under John Fox. Like, you'd have different coaching, different system. But the thing with Watson that I see is even against, what game was it earlier this year? Was it against the Panthers after their loss? When the reporter asked him a question, he's like, I'm not saying this like calling you dumb, but he's like, do you understand what's going on? And he starts to break it down. And I was like, he's a smart guy.
This guy gets football.
It's fucking working in here. And that's what you need as a quarterback. So the thing I want to do is I want to go through each level of how the Bears could replace Mitch Trubisky, because I think we're on the same mind. I think it's not they should replace him, but they should be leaning towards the future because I don't think Mitch is that future. The first thing I want to bring up, and this is the first way, they have until Tuesday if they want to do it this season.
Yep. It's a trade.
First off, should the Bears trade for a quarterback? Should they trade for a Nick Foles? Should they go out there and maybe get a Marcus Mariota, a Josh Rosen, all of these quarterbacks that are
one more
tradable? Which one were you going to throw out? Cam Newton? That was another. Like, Cam Newton is on this article that I'm looking at from Bears Wire. You've got also Jameis Winston is another one that they have as a possibility. I would too. Do you think the Bears trade for a quarterback? Because I don't. I think the Bears, if you're going to replace Mitch, it's going to be at the end of the season. It's not going to be mid-season.
I think it falls into where the expectations are in the division right now. And the problem is the Packers look pretty good, and they're going up against KC, and KC does not have Mahomes, as well as a bunch of other guys out there.
Yeah.
So if the Packers take that one, then it turns into,
we're 7-1.
Yeah. Then we're scrambling to get a wild card berth. And let's be honest, your Vikings looking pretty good out there. Now that they just remembered that. How do we win those games last year? We throw the ball. We threw the ball real good.
Also, let's be honest, we haven't been playing the best opponents. No, so right up Kirk's alley.
True. That is where Kirk Cousins shines.
Like the Washington Redskins. Woo! Kirk Cousins has that one in the bag.
I mean, they played so bad, Haskins got another chance. That's how bad that team is. Oh, so no, I think the problem is if we're looking to compete for a wild card spot, because that's all it is at this point. There's little hope that we could climb the mountain up and close that gap on the Packers.
Seattle's doing well. The Panthers and the Saints. One of them's going to win the division. The other one's going to fight for the wild card because both of them are up there. And then the Rams are struggling, but they're a half game above where the Bears are.
Right. It's one of those situations where I don't quite believe that they're as bad as they're playing right now. And I think that they've got all the pieces to take the step, even without having a good offensive line this year.
Yeah.
I love the idea of getting Cam Newton.
Do you think the Panthers do it, though?
I don't know.
Because there's even talks like, I think it's the wrong decision, but there's even talks with Carolina where they're like, well, when Cam's 100%, the job is his. And I was like, why? Kyle Allen's doing a really good job and you're winning games. Like,
exactly.
I know that there's analysts out there that are like, I don't believe in the hot hand. You go with the guy that's the better quarterback. And I'm like, I don't know. You go with the fucking hot hand. You don't back away from the poker table when you're riding a heater.
As a team that, we rode Orton until, guess what? Rex Grossman's healthy again.
Yeah.
Grossman loses. Fuck. And I know that's not even close in terms of quarterback comparisons to what's happening today. It was just the Bears have had the same exact problem happen, and we made the same exact move. We went back to, that's our guy.
Yep.
Our guy sucked.
Look at the 49ers. They didn't do that. And I know they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they got to one.
It's true. It's very true.
Could you imagine if Jim Harbaugh said, no, we're going to go with Alex Smith because he's technically the higher caliber guy. Like, that's in the discussion also. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if Carolina does it. That's the whole reason why, like, I wouldn't hate it if I'm the Bears, but in Carolina's standpoint, unless you're giving up first-round picks that you don't even have your first-round pick this year.
They were rumoring it would take a second.
Really?
Yep.
Would it take if you were Ron Rivera, if you were
a 2020
GM of the
second
Panthers,
from the Bears would be the first piece that they wanted, which is just weird because, again, this is all articles here saying BS at this point. But yeah, I would want more than a second rounder for Cam Newton. But I don't know. You said firsts, and I was like, no, Cam Newton's not worth firsts
even
anymore.
Even just one first.
We've given up so many firsts already. That's why I'm like, I give you a 2.
I mean,
a future 2. And a pick swap somewhere else, maybe. I don't know. Cam Newton's worth it because it's only a 2-year deal, right? His contract right now.
Let me pull up his contract.
I want to say 2, maybe 3. But
I've got you. I got you.
Where's the line up with the Bears timeline?
So Cam Newton has, after this year, next year is his contract year.
So that's why it's so cheap.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have to pay a guy who may or may not be healthy because he's been may or may not be healthy for the last 5 years.
Hasn't been healthy this year.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not as high of an asking price as people are probably thinking based off the name recognition of Cam Newton. I would love to have him because it lines up with our timeline of we have Khalil Mack, we've got a great defense. If you put in somebody back there who can be a game changer at the offense, with all the weapons we have, there's no excuse to not win then. Like that team, if you drop Cam Newton on our team to start the year and Cam doesn't get hurt, that team's going to the playoffs. That team's winning some games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If we do it now this year, I don't know if that might be the momentum to get to, a wild card or maybe just miss and build some continuity, and next year will be our chance to go for it. But is that worth it compared to when you look at those later options that, we're going to hit?
Yeah, and I mean...
He's the only guy I would consider. Nick Foles, great guy, would not go after him.
He's injured right now.
Yeah. He'll be back, but even when he's back, he's better than Trubisky, yes. But is he good enough for us long-term? No, That's, again, where do you want this timeline to be? Is it the Khalil Mack timeline? Is it when everybody else's contracts are going to come up and they're going to be unrestricted, go wherever they want at the end of next year? So we either attack this short window or we go, we've got a great defense. Let's turn over. Let's draft a kid who may have that explosive rookie year, may not, though. You're taking a chance.
Well, I'll ask you. You brought up draft. Do you want to go the draft route or the free agent route next?
Give me draft. Give me draft.
So with the Bears drafting, it's first round's out of the picture.
Absolutely.
Unless you're going to trade up back into the first round. So the guys that are out there are I'll be completely honest. When I know Sam threw it out there, I can't remember if it was on the podcast or before the podcast or after the podcast. If it made the cut, didn't make the cut. But way early in the season, Sam threw out there when talking with us that, Joe Burrow would be a good guy. Guess what? Joe Burrow ain't going to be there no more.
Joe Burrow played his way to the top.
Exactly. Kind of like how I mentioned in my Joe Burrow segment on the PTP, kind of like how Baker Mayfield. I had Baker, 22nd on my big board in the first one.
Yeah.
Last one all the way up to 9, and he went number 1 overall in that draft. So it's Tua's going to be gone. Burrow will probably be gone. Herbert will be gone. Fromm will probably be gone. I know Jalen Hurts on Tankathon is at 43. I think Hurts
Do you think
gets into
5
the 50,
QBs go in the first round?
I think 4 to 5 this year.
Who are the 5 teams who are going to take QBs? Obviously, the Dolphins.
So right now, going through the mock draft, how they have it, the Bengals go quarterback.
I can
They're
see
getting rid of Dalton.
Yep.
The Dolphins are another team that goes quarterback. The Falcons could, but I don't think so.
Okay.
I know that everyone's in Atlanta. Not everyone, but most people are like, hey, they could go
Matty
with a
Ice
quarterback.
has been the only good thing about that team.
Yeah, from what the Falcons fans said on my video that I did for, because I asked them, hey, I'm not a Falcon fan, give me. They're like, the people that love Michael Vick hate Matt Ryan, and that's why they want him gone.
Makes sense.
Jets aren't, Giants aren't. The Chargers could, because Phillip Rivers is a free agent this year.
He never going to retire.
Even if he is, he's fucking old. So you can bring in a rookie, sit him for a year, Brett Favre syndrome. Hey, sit him for a year or two, then he starts.
When's Phillips oldest child going to be NFL eligible?
I have no idea. The Buccaneers, because I would move on from Jameis Winston.
I'll give you that. So we're at 4. I agree with you.
The Titans could, because Ryan Tannehill.
They should.
They've already benched Marcus Mariota, so I think he's going to walk in free agency, or they're going to let him go.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you going to keep Tannehill? And then later in the draft, after that, it's
Dare
like,
you
okay.
say the Patriots?
No, they'll probably get a 3rd round guy. They'll probably get like Nate Stanley out of Iowa in the 3rd or the 4th and be happy with it.
Hell yeah, they would.
But yeah, those would be
I'll
the
give you.
teams
There
I
are
look
5
at.
teams I agree with would absolutely take QBs, but they have a lot of other needs as well. And this class is kind of interesting as far as QBs. And next year is the biggest prize of them all. So we'll see. Do you go all in this year, or do you go back for the kid from Clemson who is doing? Honestly, it's not as good as last year. His first year in college was fantastic.
Yeah, you're talking about Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Couldn't remember his name. All I remember is his hippie fucking hair.
Yeah.
But his brother looks hilarious, by the way.
His brother looks more like a
his
hippie.
brother definitely.
Like straight out of the 70s is what his brother looks like. But the thing I'll look at is, let's see, I'm going to go off of, I know that Teddy Bridgewater was also in this situation.
Yep.
But let's say
Teddy Two Gloves.
Let's say I'm going to throw out Jalen Hurts, because for me, out of the quarterbacks, I'm going to say Tua, Burrow, Herbert, and Fromm are the 4 we'll say are off the board.
I agree.
Which leaves you with Jacob Eason, which for some reason I'm not sold
He's never
on
really,
Jacob Eason.
Yeah.
The other ones like Jordan Love, KJ Costello, they're guys that's like, I don't think you take them in the 2nd round, that they'll be there.
Yeah.
Plus, I'd rather probably have a Nate Stanley in the 3rd and get something else in the 2nd if I'm the Bears.
Yeah.
But if Jalen Hurts, let's say Jalen Hurts is there at 32, kind of like how Lamar Jackson was in 2018. Philly gave up a 1st and a 4th for Baltimore's what? Or no. Yeah, Philly gave up a 1st and a 4th. They were the 32nd overall pick that year. Baltimore gave up a 2nd and a 4th. So if you're, and a 2nd in the next year's draft. So if you're the Bears, and I got to look up to see if the Bears have all these picks. If you're the Bears, you don't have your 1st rounder this year, but you have your 2nd. You also have the Raiders' 2nd this year.
Yep.
Do you do a similar deal for a quarterback? Would you give up a 2nd, a 4th, and then next year's 4th to get the 32nd overall pick and a 4th to take a quarterback if your guy's there? For me, it would be Jalen Hurts is the one I would do that for in a heartbeat.
I would be very intrigued by that deal for Jalen Hurts.
Because, he seems like a guy that could fit Nagy's offense.
No,
you look at what Mahomes did with KC with Nagy,
and on the upside, he's also started as many games as Mitch Trubisky has.
Yeah. Well, he even started at Alabama, too.
That's what I'm saying.
So he's got more.
Yeah, 15
he's
games
have more
his
by the end
freshman
of the
year, 14 games sophomore year, 13 games his junior year, and then so far this year he's played 7. But he'll actually have the same game count as Trubisky, assuming Trubisky stays healthy for the rest of the year, which isn't even a guarantee. That's what I'm saying. You get someone with equal game reps almost. I know NFL reps are not college reps, and that's apples and oranges. But it's just the idea of the fact that Jalen Hurts is 21. He went from having the best coach in college football to one of the best offensive minds in college football. Yeah, that's the pedigree kind of guy I would be okay with taking and moving up for and giving some picks to secure him. Yeah, I'm cool with that one because I think he can step in day one and he wouldn't have that massive learning curve because clearly he can pick up a new system pretty much on the fly. Like, he changed roles pretty dramatically when Tua took over in that championship game.
And then went to Lincoln Riley's system, which
because first he had to bail out Tua in next year's game.
That's right.
And he still played. I mean, you remember those games that were blowouts? It would be like, okay, Tua gets the first half, Jalen has the second half. So he still got reps in those games. Yeah. Like, it's not like he got, a ton, but still.
It's not like he was Alex Moran riding the third string coattails.
There you go. Little Blue Mountain State reference.
Yeah, but then he goes to Lincoln Riley's system, and it's like, I think Lincoln Riley just has the key. Like, I would have
unlocks everybody.
Pat McAfee said it on his show. I just want to throw it out there that I said it first on MVP about Jalen Hurts probably being it. Like, I threw it out to Sean, and I was like, what if Jalen Hurts is the first overall pick, and it's Oklahoma 3 years in a row?
That would be insane.
And Sean was like, not going to happen. I was like, watch it happen. Pat McAfee, I'm watching you.
He's got a couple more games. If he shows up.
He could. Well, I mean, everyone's like,
I know.
He blew off the first game, complete,
he was insane.
I was like, oh my God, I'm all over.
Yep.
Now everyone's in Joe Burrow hype.
Yep.
Like, Joe Burrow is just doing it, and now Oklahoma or LSU is the number 2. Let's quickly hit the last way, and that's free agency.
Is there anybody?
Here's the thing, though. There could be some people. The first one I'm going to throw out there, and I'm going to say no. Drew Brees. He's technically up. He's got a club option. Saints are probably going to keep him. Here's the one I wanted to ask you about, because I'm seeing articles about it.
Sure.
Everyone's talking about he sold his house, the trainer sold his house. First, I want to ask you this. Is there any way we see Tom Brady in a different uniform next year?
No.
Not even a Bears uniform? Nope. Okay. So
not even a little.
So that's writing off Tom Brady. I'll ask you this then.
Yeah.
Let's say he did leave the Patriots.
He won't.
Would he come to the Bears?
No.
Let's say... alternate reality, we're on Earth 52 now. Wait, would we be for Earth 52? We're on
I don't know
Earth
which Earth
1.
we'd be on, yeah.
We're on Earth 1.
Okay.
Tom Brady has left the Patriots. Would he even think to sign with the Chicago Bears?
Nope.
So Dave's writing that one off right away.
I'm not even going to. Nope.
The third one, I've mentioned him. Phillip Rivers is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year.
At least he's not Eli.
There's not a guarantee. Eli is also an unrestricted free agent.
No.
I wasn't going to bring him up, though. Phillip Rivers, 38. He'll be 38 next year. If the Chargers don't re-sign him, because he's kind of getting old, would the Bears be like, hey, let's throw a contract at Phillip Rivers and bring him in to have a veteran quarterback? Does he even fit with Matt Nagy? Could he even work with Matt Nagy's offense?
It would basically be like Montaning. Like, he would be on one team for the almost majority of his career, and then just at the end, it's like, okay, Kansas. And then for us, it would be the Bears.
Yeah.
I'd be cool with it. I think Phillip Rivers still has it. I think he's one of the sharpest minds in football. I think he's got a great arm, good touch. The strength on the arm is starting to fade a little bit. But you know what? He does fantastic things. And, like, I always love fourth quarter Phillip Rivers because he is just gunslinging for a reason, and he just goes.
Which is why I think
he's a dangerous man.
That's why I think he'd be intrigued with the Bears, because the one thing he's been doing in San Diego and now LA is not winning games.
Yep.
Like, the Chargers this year should be a lot better record-wise than they are right now. And you give him...
We found a kicker.
Yeah, you give him those wide...
We've got wide receivers to match their wide receivers.
The defense is way better.
Our defense is incredible, and our tight ends.
Every game doesn't have to be a blowout for him.
I know.
If he scores like 24, he could win the game.
Shit, if he scored 20.
Exactly. He could win the game. So he's one that I look at.
I would take that, but I don't see him leaving. I think he is the Chargers. He is, like, you had Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
Never going to not be a Charger.
Drew Brees was your guy until
But I'm just saying,
Rivers
like,
took
Antonio
over.
Gates is a Charger till life. Like,
Technically,
he never was
he hasn't retired, I don't think.
Yeah, it's weird.
Technically, he's still out there.
But still,
he's gonna basically what we think Gronk's gonna do.
No,
is Antonio
if they were winning games, sure.
If they play a Super Bowl, Antonio Gates says, "Hey, sign me for one game. We're winning a Super Bowl."
If they had been winning games, sure. But no, he's done.
So Phillip Rivers, I think, is where we start to enter the realism. This is the realism. But even this first quarterback, I don't even know if the Saints re-sign him because of how well he's done. And if they're going to keep Drew Brees, do they bring him back? Because technically, according to Spot Rack, he has a club option for the next 2 years. But if Teddy Bridgewater is on the market, do you take a look at him if you're the Bears?
Good old Teddy Two Gloves.
Especially based off of how he's done this year,
if he can
keeping
win,
the Saints afloat.
I think that's the thing. If he can win with the Saints' offense and defense, I think he could win with ours. We have a better defense, but our offense...
You just don't have Alvin Kamara.
Well, yeah, our offense is lacking that kind of a player, and also our offensive line has really struggled this year. And I don't know if that's like we just can't get together because we have the right names. We've got the right history, but at the same time, this year they're just not putting it together, and I think change needs to happen for change's sake, maybe.
And then outside of Teddy Bridgewater, this is where the options, I think, get very dry. Jameis Winston, no, I wouldn't take him.
Not interested.
Marcus Mariota, I would, for the right money, I'd think about it, but yet again, he's not a guy that would say
he's a career mediocre. He will never be anything better than that.
Case Keenum.
No.
Who is literally going to lose his job at the end of the year to Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
And then guys like Chad Henne, Drew Stanton, Colt McCoy, A.J. McCarron, Ryan Tannehill. These are guys that I'm not bringing in to be my starting. I'm not replacing Mitch for these guys.
I agree. I agree. I think if you don't go in the draft and get someone, like if this year ends, we miss out on the playoffs, go 8-8 or some shit like that. And we don't draft QB. We don't get our Jalen Hurts. I could see us look at that free agency class and be like, all right, Mitch, you got this year. Make it happen or else. That's the situation we're going to be in.
Because let's see. Mitch's contract, which we haven't looked at yet, he's got potentially one more guaranteed year. Next year, and then 2021, he has a club option that the Bears have not picked up. So, I mean, even if you draft a guy, you don't have to get rid of Mitch next year. You can keep him on that cheap $735,000 contract, and then if you want to get rid of him...
That can't be all he's getting paid.
That's his base salary.
Oh, it was like the rookie deal for his pick number? No.
Base salary is $735,000. Okay, signing bonus, 4.8.
Yeah.
So most of it is in that signing bonus, and also he's got the roster... his cap hits about $9 million.
There we go. That's it. Thank you.
But it's not anything like the high big buck quarterbacks.
No, but he was a highly drafted quarterback. Yeah. That's the thing.
And he was also, you traded up from 3 to 2 to get him. But
don't remind me.
Any final thoughts before we kind of segue in? Dave
Real
says
sourpuss mode.
Dave's like, no, let's talk about Bulls. But Dave and I will talk about the Bulls. We'll be back later. What we're going to go
Enjoy Brandon.
Is Brandon and I, we went for 50 minutes.
Jesus.
On talking Cubs and David Ross. I actually liked it. It was a really nice discussion. But Bears fans, let us know what you think down below in that comment section. And let's move on into our next topic. And if you're on YouTube, you're confused right now because you're like, wait, Dave was just sitting across the desk from Ricky. Ricky was also in a different shirt. Like, Ricky's in a different attire. I don't even know if I'm going to wear these shorts on Friday when Dave and I record the Superfans podcast as it is normally scheduled. But I know this ain't the beginning of the podcast, but I got to welcome him into the podcast. Brandon Swanson, how you doing?
Doing well, Ricky. Thanks so much for having me.
This is your first appearance on the Chicago podcast that we call Superfans, and now you are an official MVP Superfan as well. So how does it feel actually being on a podcast that, people want to hear us talk about Chicago sports, not where it's like, oh, it's the onside kick. Why do you talk so much about the Bears? How does it feel?
Well, it's cool to be on for sure. I think that when you actually say that the podcast is going to be centered around Chicago sports, all of a sudden people want to come and actually listen, as opposed to when, before all they want to listen for is, some stupid team on the West Coast. I mean, it'd be like, why aren't you talking about my Dodgers?
Brandon's attack on the West Coast continues. You want to take a dig at Pac-12 football while you're at it?
Yeah.
Because you haven't done that in a while.
Well, no need to. I'm asleep.
Brandon's asleep. But
I'm kidding. I actually really enjoy the West Coast. Wish I could move there.
But before we move into everything, I'm going to pitch Twitch. Make sure to follow us on twitch.tv/MostValPodcast. Eventually, I got the new lens, so you guys have been noticing that focus thing. doesn't happen, or is what some people have called it, the ghost of the MVP studios ain't messing with the camera no more.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I called the Ghostbusters in. They ain't afraid of no ghosts. And they got all of our ghosty problems done with their, what are they called? Not flux. Is it a flux capacitor? I don't even remember. The
Asking the wrong
the
guy.
Ghostbusters was an 80s thing. I watched it. I was never huge on the Ghostbusters like I am like Star Wars and everything. But we called them. They took care of our ghosts. So we will be going on live eventually for most of our podcasts. Twitch.tv/mostofall podcast is where that'll happen. Go ahead and give us a follow. But Brandon, I called you in here. I came up, tapped my left arm. Dave, he's hitting the showers right now. He'll be back for the last segment. But he's hitting the showers right now. I'm calling in the lefty, although you're not a lefty. You're
I am not.
I'm
Yes.
calling in the reliever here. Let's see who's the reliever from the Phillies that the funny viral video went around where he ran in and tired himself out and JT Realmuto like kind of rolled his eyes at him.
I can't remember, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
We don't have enough room for that. You can't be running in out of nowhere to come in out of the bullpen. But we got to talk Chicago Cubs today because it happened. The guy I thought they were going to hire, the guy everybody thought they were going to hire, is now the manager of the Chicago Cubs. David Ross, Grandpa Rossi, however you want to call him, is now the manager to take over for the Chicago Cubs. And of course, we're going to talk about what this means for the Cubs, what it means for their future. But the first thing I want to ask you kind of goes away from that, goes even away of before we get into like what you think. The first thought I had about this was something Sean said when we talked about who could be the next manager of the Cubs. And we talked about Theo's it was either when we talked about who could be the next manager of the Cubs, or it was in our segment about Theo's comments when he called this season disappointing, or how the team is going as disappointing. And one of the things Theo said, Sean brought it up, he said that they want to move on from 2016. 2016 was great, but they want to move on from it. And one of the things Sean brought up for why you don't hire David Ross is that kind of contradicts each other. How can you move away from 2016 with David Ross being one of the key guys that won them the World Series, was the emotional leader in that clubhouse? First thing I want to ask you is, does this move contradict comments that Theo has made that the Cubs organization wants to move away from 2016 and move on from it? It's good, it's great, but it's done. We have to move on. Does this contradict that move by hiring David Ross?
Well, I'd say that on the outset of it, yeah, it does, because David Ross was part of that 2015 and then 2016 team. And you look at that, and anyone who thinks that Theo actually wants to move on from that, well, no, he doesn't. He wants to be back in 2016. He wants to have that success they had in 2016. You can't blame him for that. I just think that to say you want to move on from that and then hire in a guy who had probably some of the most energy for that team in 2016, and a lot of people, I mean, they have a name for him, Grandpa Rossi. I mean, I think that's a really huge thing for the city of Chicago, for Cubs fans, and for fans across the nation. I mean, they know that. They know who David Ross is, and not whether it's from playing with the Cubs during that time, or whether it's from being an analyst on ESPN and doing some of the games there. He's a very knowledgeable baseball guy, and I think that it'll be very interesting to see what happens with him as the Cubs manager. But for Theo to say that he wants to move on from 2016 and then make this move, I think clearly he's contradicting himself.
What did you think when the news came out? Because I know you texted me. As a Cub fan, I love it, because the one thing I mentioned when we were in a managerial search after we fired Joe, who's going to do fine things with Mike Trout in L.A., is I didn't really care if the guy we got had managerial experience. The big thing I wanted was who can manage these personalities in the locker room because I love my Cubs, but I'll be completely honest, we're not the toughest mentally. And I don't mean that as like a dig of like, oh, these snowflakes these days. But we're not mentally a tough team. Like Anthony Rizzo's a prime candidate where he's a great player. When he's on, he's on. But there have been times where it's like, we've even talked about how it's like, what's going on with Anthony Rizzo? How many times he needed Grandpa Rossi to kind of talk him up during that 2016 year and how much we heard about that. So, I mean, we're still a team that I wouldn't say is the strongest mentally, and some people may disagree with me there, but we've got a ton of fucking talent. And that's why I didn't care who we got for the X's and O's side. It's all about managing the personalities and the minds that we have in the mentalities, I should say, in this locker room. What was your first thought, though, when the Cubs, David Ross, manager of the Chicago Cubs?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I want to go a little farther back than that.
Go ahead. You mean further back than 2016? Or
No. I want to go further back from talking about
Okay.
David Ross as the new manager for the Cubs. So
Go ahead.
I want to go back to when there was the discussion, and it really started last year, that Joe Maddon could be out.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I thought, this is ridiculous. It makes no sense. Why would Joe Maddon be out? Joe Maddon brought the first World Series to the Chicago Cubs in 108 years. And now, because the Cubs have a mediocre season because their players, not Joe Maddon, nothing he did, their players weren't performing. Some injuries here and there, that's the grind of 162 games. Cubs didn't play well, and the Cardinals took off in the division. I mean, they
And
really
the
did.
Brewers
I mean,
made moves.
I mean that
Like even last year.
those things happen. I think this was like an overreaction Monday, but in the sense of a season. And I think that Theo just made a real big overreaction here. Joe Maddon, I would have never gotten rid of Joe Maddon. Joe Maddon is not a bad manager. And I understand that people could say, well, the guys weren't buying into him anymore. I don't know if that's true. I don't fully believe that that's true at all. And I know that people could say, well, Joe, the guys wearing the funny outfits and stuff like that on the plane rides back, that just wasn't doing anything anymore. Well, maybe they need to play better. I just think that the Cubs this past season, they were trash. I mean, they were just bad. And I think any Cub fan would also say that, because guaranteed they said that out loud out of their mouth at some point during the season. And the Cubs to end the year, to go on a 9-game losing skid, no one would have or could have ever predicted that it would be that bad. And it was that bad. But Joe Maddon, in the 5 years that he was with the Cubs, he had 2 first-place finishes, with one of them being the World Series, a second-place finish back in 2018, which if you look at that, you look at the fact that the Cubs had back-to-back games where they had a chance to clinch a playoff spot and potentially then make a run. They couldn't win any of those 2 games that they had at home, back-to-back games. They couldn't win them. Couldn't beat the Brewers, couldn't beat the Rockies. And then it got really rocky. If Joe Maddon and the Cubs win those 2 games, we're not talking about Joe Maddon being gone from the Cubs. But it's the overreaction from Theo. And I really just think that it was a disservice done to Joe Maddon for the way that all the great things that he brought to Chicago, the people who complained and complained and complained for years that they weren't doing well, that they didn't have a good manager, that all this stuff. Then you finally have a good manager, and after 5 years, you poo-poo him away. I think that's bullshit.
Yeah, and we had a discussion on Superfans before Joe Maddon got fired. It was like episode 1 or episode 2. And it was, should the Cubs move on from Joe Maddon? And I was staunch in if I'm Theo, I don't fire Joe Maddon. Because I was the same thing you just said. It's not Joe Maddon's fault we played bad. When we brought Joe Maddon in, when Joe Maddon became the manager, it was very apparent to me that Joe wasn't an X's and O's kind of guy. Where it was like, he had the experience of being in Tampa. He has that experience with the X's and O's. It's not like David Ross, who's completely green to being a manager. But the thing that Joe Madden was able to do is bring that lightheartedness, bring that kind of just not take the game too seriously. Keep the guys loose, keep it fun kind of a thing. And the thing that I wonder is, first, I understand why Theo made the movie did, because the comments that he made about the season being disappointing, Theo, in his mind, had a expectation for this team. We won a World Series in 2016. We should now be competing for World Series. We shouldn't be a team that loses a one-game playoff against the Brewers in our home stadium. I'm going back to last year. That last year was the crushing one. Like, I would have thought, how do I want to phrase this? I would have been more understanding if the Cubs fired Joe Madden after last year than after this year. Because if you think about last year we had a lead in the division going into August, September. The Brewers had a hot end of the year and caught up to us, tied us in the division. We have a one-game playoff at home, and we lose that game. I remember my work schedule was phenomenal last year, where Monday I had 3 classes in the morning and then planned periods throughout the whole day. So I was able to, at work, watch that that entire Cubs-Brewers game. And I was fuming at that game.
Yeah.
Because of how bad we played.
You had every reason to. I mean, that was a poorly played game by the Cubs.
And then we played the Rockies in our home stadium. Again, another home game. And I get that it's not a for sure that the home team always wins in baseball. Look at the Nationals. Nationals won at home in their wild card game, but then beat a higher seeded team in the Dodgers. Beat a higher seeded team. Swept a higher seeded team in the Cardinals, which I think I've become National fans this year because they beat the Brewers and beat the Cardinals, and they did exactly what I wanted them to, because screw the Brewers, screw the Cardinals, go Cubs. And that's, so it's not necessarily we were at home, we should win, but I feel like we should have won that game at home. It was didn't it end up being a 1-0 game if my memory serves me, that Rockies game?
I can't remember.
I have to go back and look, but it was a close game throughout, and we lost it late. We lost it in extras is how we lost it. And the thing I just feel like this year, you're right, it's not Joe Madden's fault. It's the players' fault. And the thing I want to kind of, with moving this from Joe into now David Ross, is everything I've heard, and I'm going to use Mark Teixeira as the kind of lead man for this, because before the World Series game on ESPN2, they were talking about it. If you go to the ESPN Cub page, his video of him talking about it on that set is the first thing, where it's like, oh, it's a phenomenal move. It's the good thing for this. You don't need a guy who's X's and O's. Here's my worry about this move. I love the move. I'm glad that David Ross is the manager. But here's my one worry, and I want to ask you if I'm right in worrying about this. I relate it to my own life, where David Ross the player, how is David Ross the player going to be different than David Ross the manager? And the one example I use is, it was either Teixeira or Tim Kirkchin.
I love him.
Who basically, one of them said it, where David Ross is a tough guy, where back in 2016, he wouldn't be afraid to call someone out. Like, really? You're calling off today because you got an upset stomach? Like, really? That's why we're calling off today? That's why we ain't playing today? Kind of like that. Come on, you're being a wuss. Get out there and play some baseball. And the thing that I think about when I heard that was the delivery as a fellow teammate compared to the manager. And I relate it to my own life as a teacher. Whereas the one high school that I graduated from, when I was in college still, I emailed their director and I said, hey, do you mind if I is there opportunity I can teach some private lessons, help out with teaching? You don't have to pay me. I'm just looking for the experience while in college to kind of work with kids and kind of get a foothold into what being a teacher really is. And I was blessed to be able to work with that band program. And there was a difference, though, between college student, where when I was still a college student, the seniors who were there they weren't freshmen when I was there, but they were like, there were a few of them that knew me because either they had brothers or sisters that went to high school with me, or they were still young enough to have known who I was. So to them, I wasn't Mr. Widmer. I was Ricky. Well, when I graduated and became a teacher and then got hired pseudo part-time at the high school to work with the band, it was, all right, I'm Mr. Widmer. And those kids were now seniors at the time. Or the students that were freshmen who grew up calling me Ricky were now seniors. And it was really hard. It was like nails on a chalkboard, trying to drill it in their head that, no, I'm not your friend. I'm part of the teachers. And I know that it's different, baseball and teaching, but I wonder if that same thing can be relayed here. Whereas when Dave Ross was the player, certain things like that may land differently. And if you're a teammate, one of the older teammates, you can get away with saying that. Whereas now in this situation, now that you're the manager, is it going to land differently now that he's the manager compared to the player? But to play devil's advocate on that, is it like something like Pat McAfee said on his show, where he was talking about NFL locker rooms, and he said, in high school and college, coach says something and the player buys into it because you're looking up to them. In the NFL, there's so much knowledge. The players have so much knowledge to where, like, one time they traded A.Q. Shipley, and the Colts players didn't agree with it. And Chuck Pagano came in and said, you just got to believe in the system, believe in what we're doing here. And the players were like, no, we're not buying in. We're not. Do you see any worry in what I'm saying? Is how he was able to be tough on this team as a teammate different than how we can be tough on this team as a manager? Or are they one and the same? The title doesn't matter at all.
So I'll go back for a brief moment.
Because I know I rambled.
You didn't ramble. You really made tied some good examples together. What I'll go back to is your question at the beginning of what did I think of the hire. So what Theo was doing, what I truly believe Theo was doing, was he knew he was losing the fans. He knew he was losing the fans because of the season that it was, and that people were upset. I mean, they had seen what the Cubs had been for the last couple of years, which has been a successful team. They're at the top for the number 1 spot or the number 2 spot with a chance for the playoffs. This past year, they were sunk. Only won 84 games. It was ugly.
Yeah.
And he knew he was losing the fans. So what he did is he made the most fan-friendly move he possibly could to win them back. And he did. And he got David Ross. People loved it. I said it at the beginning. The city of Chicago loves David Ross. They love him. I'm a White Sox fan. I like David Ross. I think he seems like a special guy, a nice guy, a likable guy, an approachable guy. Now, those are all great things. Those are all great things to be a manager.
Yeah.
I do wonder, the guys that played with him, and Chris Bryant already, Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, they already say, I really looked at him as a coach when he was here anyways. But he wasn't.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. He wasn't your coach.
And that's why he wasn't
your manager. He may have acted like that. He may have had that presence with you, but he wasn't. That wasn't his title. Now he's not going out onto the field with you. He's not, in the game, in the locker room the same way that he was before. Mm-hmm. It is different. It is different. And it's going to be interesting to see, okay, maybe some of the young guys in the Cubs we know is, still a young team. The young guys may quickly buy right in and everything like that. But, if, Javi Baez is now on the cover of MLB 20, the show.
Can't wait to buy it.
Javi Baez thinks a lot of Javi Baez. Mm-hmm. We know it. He's an arrogant guy. Mm-hmm. Good player, arrogant guy, well out of position for a lot of the plays he makes, which is why they end up being so crazy and good. He's out of position, though. I'm just going to throw that out there. If he doesn't necessarily buy into something with David Ross, he knows it better. Javi knows it better. But Ross is putting it out there. How's that going to go? How's that going to go? Then do you have some divide right there? Then do some guys, go with Javi and then they're against David Ross? Mm-hmm. That's a worst case scenario. But it could happen. And I'm not saying necessarily just for Javi, but I'm using that as an example. Something like that could happen. And then if one guy, like a Javi Baez, is able to influence some of the young guys, all of a sudden you've got turmoil in your locker room. And that's not what you want if you're a Cub fan. You want to believe that David Ross is coming in and it's going to be ho-hum harmony, kumbaya in a circle with everyone before and after games. Mm-hmm. And as much as I think there's going to be a lot of that throughout the offseason, there's going to be changes with the Cubs too. I don't know if Theo's done making moves.
Well, and
so I just want to wrap that up with everything's going to be great through the offseason. Everyone's going to be lovey-dovey. Everything's going to be wonderful. I'm very interested to see how things are beginning of the season next year when, okay, here are the pieces to play with. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Theo. And now Ross. The biggest criticism, I think, for Joe Madden while he was here towards the end, he wasn't using the bullpen the right way. Does David Ross know how to use the bullpen the right way, quote unquote, the right way? Is there a right way? Yeah. But does he know how to manage that? That's where I think fans are going to be the most critical, because that's where they felt that Joe Madden towards the end fell down the most, was on how he was using and utilizing his bullpen. Will Ross know how to use it the right way for Chicago fans?
One question and one thing that I think will be interesting this year. I'll start with the interesting thing of, I wonder when it comes to X's and O's, the one X's and O's thing I can't wait to see from David Ross is, what does his hire mean for Wilson Contreras? Because Wilson Contreras, great bat. There have been times in the field it's like not the best defensive catcher. And it's been shown. We're sometimes take Contreras out, put Lucroy in to be more of the defensive side. I didn't think they put in Carantini. I think it was more Lucroy. Even Maldonado before we traded him to the Astros, who he's playing right now. I want to know, and I want to see what that relationship is like. Does Wilson Contreras learn things from David Ross, being a catcher in this league and being a battery mate for John Lester? Does having John Lester still on this team help out David Ross, where it's like John Lester's basically in the clubhouse, the right-hand guy for, if a thing like you mentioned, if let's say Javi does that, does John Lester step in to break it down? Where it's like, hey, come on, like we all know each other kind of a thing. It's going to be interesting to see how this works. The thing that's even more interesting, and I know Pat, I don't want to get too much into it because I know Pat Hill, one of our patrons, wants to come on Superfans and talk about this. He wants to talk about who could be traded this offseason from the Cubs, because if you look at it, after this year, Contreras is up for arbitration this year. You've got Ben Zobrist, who's an unrestricted free agent now after this year. You've got Chris Bryant, who is up for arbitration this year. Javi Baez, it says up for arbitration. Addison Russell, arbitration. Kyle Schwarber, arbitration. Albert Almora, arbitration. Nick Castellanos, I think he walks, but he's a UFA.
I don't think he walks.
You don't think so? You think he resigns?
I think he resigns with the Cubs. The two guys that I would be interested in.
And then I was going to mention just Cole Hamels and a lot of our bullpen, like 5 guys in our bullpen, all free agents.
I think Nick Castellanos stays with the Cubs. I think he'll resign. But the two guys that I'm looking at that I'm really interested in, that I truly believe have a chance of leaving, are Schwarber and Bryant.
Yeah.
I mean, I really do. I think that they've been the young guys, and they're still young guys, but, they were the guys that really kind of came up with the Cubs, right at the beginning of their kind of run to the World Series in terms of, 15, there a lot of excitement, things are happening, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then 16 when they really go, 17 when they're, still really competitive and everything like that. I think, these two guys have been staples for the Chicago Cubs, and they really have. And I could see one or both of them for the right price being traded away.
So I want to mention one thing, and this is something
or walking.
I know this is off the David Ross thing. This is off the Cub thing. But I've battled this through the playoffs this year. I am so happy we won that World Series, because if we didn't, you know what would haunt me to this day? You know what would haunt me to this day if we didn't win that World Series? If Rajai Davis was the hero that he was that night up until we crushed the Cleveland dream, like what usually happens with Cleveland, their dreams get crushed. We could have had an infield of Anthony Rizzo at first, Javi Baez at second, Chris Bryant at third, Gleyber Torres at shortstop. Because I don't think you put Gleyber at second. Like Gleyber and Javi, obviously both their main positions are shortstop, but like Javi's played second for us, so that's why I put him at second. Like that could have been our infield. But we won the World Series, Roldis Chapman. That's why we made that trade. That is something this playoffs that I've just watched Gleyber Torres and been like, selfish Cub fan Ricky, I would have loved to see an alternate reality where he's in a Cub uniform and not Yankee pinstripes. Because I love Gleyber Torres. You don't know how much I love Gleyber Torres, Brandon.
I'm getting the vibe you like him a lot, but he's been an outstanding player. He really has.
But I do agree with you. Chris Bryant, I would hate to see go, but I do think Kyle Schwarber's time in Chicago is done because he can't play the field.
I think it's done. He's got to be traded to an American League team. He's a DH. He's a DH. I mean, we know it. I mean, Cub fans have known it. They try and look past it, and then if he makes a good play, they're like, see, he's coming around. He's not coming around. Yeah. He is a hitter. I mean, he is the biggest hitter that there is, and he's not a field guy. And so he's going.
And we got Ian Happ, who is a better fielder.
For him to be the most successful, he's going to go to an American League team, and he's going to be a DH.
Like our outfielder, like we got, even like let's say Castellanos resigns, then what? Our outfield is then Jason Hayward, who we're paying, Castellanos, who we'd be paying, and then I'm assuming Albert Almora is our center fielder, and then Ian Happ, he almost reminds me as like a mini Schwarber because of his power. So it's like. That's the guy. I don't want to get too much into it because, of course, Pat wants to talk about it, but that's the one thing I would do. I'll ask you this. Look into your crystal ball. At the end of the David Ross tenure, what are we saying? Give me a headline, like an ESPN, The Score, what's the headline when David Ross gets fired or let go from the Cubs after how many years he's the manager? What are we looking at?
Well, would have loved to have gotten a little bit more time to put this headline together and do my article.
Or just a thought.
But I think that what we're going to see at the end of the David Ross era is that he is going to be, I think, the See, David Ross, and I like him. I think he brings a great energy and a great passion and everything like that to the game. I really do. And he may end up being an outstanding manager. But if I was the Cubs, I would have been going for Joe Girardi, a proven manager, someone who's obviously done really great things with the New York Yankees. Obviously, the Yankees had great talent, but
has ties to the Cubs.
But Girardi has also been proven to be able to manage all of these personalities, and the Yankees have plenty. We know it. I'm not saying that David Ross hasn't. We have to give him a chance. You have to give him a chance, but I think that we're going to be seeing something, the headline along the lines of, Ross was a great player, great energy guy for the Chicago Cubs, but never quite was able to get over the hump. And I think that it's part of that is maybe because of the fact that he played with them. And some of that may go away if guys like Schwarber leave, Bryant leave, Rizzo leave. I mean, if any of that happens, I mean, you're looking at a new Cub ball club. And so maybe that's not even ending up to be an issue. But I really think that the reason why Theo went with David Ross is because he was the favorite pick. Theo needed to win the fan base back. My thought is also, how long is Theo going to be in town? I mean, when's he going to move on to the next team to build them up? I mean, he's done great with the Chicago Cubs, but how much longer is he going to be there? I mean, his pieces. I mean, if Schwarber, Bryant, Rizzo, I mean, let's just say those guys go. Those are his centerpieces. I mean, you obviously look at Baez and stuff like that too, but there's your centerpieces for your championship team. And now then let's say poof, they're gone. What are you working with? I mean, the Cubs farm system has been notably weakened because of all the prospects they gave away to get these great guys. And then when they go, you're left with a farm system that needs to be rebuilt, and it does need to be rebuilt for the Chicago Cubs right now. I mean, that's why you look at and I'm a Chicago White Sox fan. As a White Sox fan, I'm getting excited because I feel like our window is just beginning for a potential playoff run, for playoff appearances, stuff like that. I won't even get crazy and talk about World Series at this point, but we have the pieces in the majors. We have many more pieces that are ready in the minors and many more that are going to be groomed to be ready in the minors. That's just beginning. The Cubs are on the end of theirs. So unless Theo's able to build that back up, and by building that back up, you're going to have to trade some of your centerpiece guys or close to centerpiece guys to get more of those prospects or get other, major league ready talent. But it's hard to do that if you don't have the prospects, which really the Cubs don't have right now. So that's why it's those windows of opportunity. And for the Cubs to have won that World Series, that was huge back in 2016. Because if they don't win that, they may not have another window for another 10, 15 years. Who knows? I mean, that's why it's so crucial to when you get those pieces, you want to make the right moves. I mean, everything the Cubs did in 2016 just seemed to be perfect. The moves for Chapman and this and that and the other thing. I mean, everything's fell into place, and that's the type of thing that needs to happen for baseball teams. To just go off on one more quick note is that
go ahead.
Anyone who's worried about David Ross being a first-time manager, do not fret. Dave Martinez was a first-time manager in 2018 for the Nationals. He went 82-80.
I got this lined up already.
They're in the World Series right now.
Well,
in his second year.
I was gonna say, out of all the managers in the playoffs, not wild card, playoffs. So the NLDS, ALDS, and beyond. You've got Brian Snitker with the Braves. Before he became the manager in 2016, didn't have any managerial experience. Dave Roberts, before he became the manager in 2016, he had 1 year. He was 1 year as the Padres skipper, and then he's with the Dodgers. You have Mike Schilt of the Cardinals. Before he became the manager last year, no managerial experience. Dave Martinez, the same thing, like you said. Kevin Cash of the Rays, no experience before 2015 when he came in. Rocco Baldelli, no experience before he came in. Aaron Boone, which this could be a very Aaron Boone type of move because Aaron Boone's doing the same thing that David Ross is. No managerial experience, coming right out of the Baseball Tonight Sunday Night Baseball booth. Coming from the ESPN booth into the team. But the only manager with experience of like significant time is Houston's, which is AJ Hinch, who was 2 years as the manager of the D-backs before he came over to the Astros in 2015. But that was like 09-010, and then in 15 he was the manager of the Astros. So, I mean, one person who is significant, like him and Dave Roberts are the only ones with managerial experience.
What I want to say there about Aaron Boone is that what the Yankees have done, though, is they have made sure that they have not lost any of their core players.
Yes.
The Cubs...
Aaron Judge.
The Cubs, Aaron Judge, they added Stanton. They have Torres. They have...
Gary Sanchez.
Gary Sanchez. So there's a core right there already. And then their pitching staff has been good. Their relievers have been solid. What the Cubs can't afford to do, they have to find ways to keep this core together as long as possible.
No, they do.
They can't allow these guys to walk because those windows... And they're probably much smarter guys than me sitting in their front office, that the window of opportunity is always small, unless you're the Yankees or the Red Sox, it seems. But even the Red Sox this year had a down year, and they got rid of their GM. That didn't make sense to me. I complained about that earlier in the year. But that's why it's so important to keep your core together at all costs. And you hope that you keep the guys together for the Chicago Cubs, because if you do, you have to believe that every year you have a chance at winning that division and going to the playoffs. You've got a core right there. You've got Rizzo. You've got Bryant. You've got Contreras. You've got Schwarber. You've got Happ. I mean, and then the pitching staff, which was improved. Darvish went from being a complete waste of space to actually pitching well this year.
Yeah.
It's like what's going on? Where was this the last couple of years?
He sucked all the energy out of everyone else. Everyone else wasn't that good. And then he was good. It's like you can't get the timeline to match.
You can't. You know that you have this good core group, and I understand, how contracts work, and you've got to get certain people their money. You got to do this, and you got to do that, whatever. But you do whatever you can to keep that core group as long as possible, because those windows, while they're great when they're happening, after 3 years, and it's all of a sudden beginning to tighten and close because everyone now wants to get paid. That is really tough to keep those guys together. But if you are, and if Theo is, people are going to be a big Theo fan again, because I feel like, and you're a big Cub fan, Ricky, I feel like people have started to, not necessarily sour, not the right word, but they've started to question Theo. This past season, especially when you're not winning and you end the year on a 9-game skid, it's easy to question every move made by your GM and your manager. And I think that that's kind of where people are. And now this David Ross hire, it has them, I think, Theo back in the good graces. But there needs to just be everything possible done to keep this core together as long as possible, because we know what happens when you can't. All of a sudden, guys start to, go away. Yes, you get prospects, but who knows how quickly they're able to come to the majors, and then do they pan out? Number of times, prospects don't pan out from big deals. Centerpiece prospects that don't always pan out.
Well, and the thing that I also want to, last thing I'm going to touch, because the talent is important, and of course you get everyone like the Mark Teixeiras and the main level guys are saying, oh, well, David Ross has got talent. Like, he shouldn't have anything to worry about there. He can just be the guy and to be the emotional leader of this team. Well, it's like you said. How long is this core going to be together? And if that core is not, that's going to be the big thing to what we look at later on. If this core's together and they don't produce, that's one thing. But if we trade Chris Bryant, if we trade Kyle Schwarber, well, okay, we're weakening this team, and then we may have to lean on the X's and O's of David Ross, because the one thing I want to throw out there, and this was just a short thing, that SB Nation did their Rewinder series on Game 7 of the Cubs and Indians.
Yeah.
And you know what I didn't notice watching that game that they reminded me of? So back when the game was, I don't even remember what inning it was, but in the game, the Indians, while they were up, I believe, took Coco Crisp out of the game in left field because he's a defensive liability. It was right after Rajai Davis gave them the lead. They took Coco Crisp out of the game because they wanted a defensive guy in there, and Michael Martinez was that guy. Well, the Cubs came back, tied it, took the lead. Who made the last out in that World Series? Michael Martinez. If they never pulled him, Coco Crisp would have been at the plate, and it might have been a different outcome in that World Series. So even something that small can affect a big moment, and that's the thing with this team, it's the talent. Can David Ross get the talent back to what it was doing in 2016, and how much of that talent is still going to be there? That's because this season, I think Theo's going to still make moves. Theo's not up. It was all Joe Madden. Like, I don't think he's like that. And plus, with the contracts, like you said, Theo knows that since there's no salary cap in baseball, the Cubs are doing a lot of things to get income. They got that new area out front. They got the brand new hotel that they're building. This next year, the Marquee Sports Network that is going to be the exclusive home to all the Cub games. It has some games like who we know who's been on the channel, Pete Creighton, who he's even said he hates the Marquee Network mainly because of one, I think he said his grandfather can't watch Cub games anymore because they're not going to be on local TV. And number two, they're owned by the Marquee Network is going to be owned by the Sinclair Broadcast Group, which they're not the most ethical broadcast group, is what I'll say. And it's just like, it's got some people shaken up, but that's supposed to be bringing in money for this team that this team can then use to hopefully pay the players that they want to keep around and be the talent on this team. I would assume. That's what I assume it would be because there's no salary cap in baseball.
Yeah, I really hope that things go really well for David Ross. He seems like a very stand-up guy, he always seemed like when he was with the Cubs as a player that he was a really good positive force in that clubhouse. Yeah. And then obviously, on the field too, he had some really big moments for the Chicago Cubs, and that's why everyone loves him. I mean, the city of Chicago loves him, and I just hope, as grueling as Chicago can be for sports, we know that quite well. I hope that they don't lose that love for him, because it was so great. And this is something that I think sometimes can be bad too. And I'm trying not to make it a negative, but all right, he does all these great things for you. You love him as a player, everything like that. And then, you bring him back as the manager. It's not going so well. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, people are soured.
Why did we get rid of Joe Madden?
And then people are soured on David Ross. And, a city that once loved him, and Chicago is a city that'll do this to you. Mm-hmm. The same people that were rooting for Mitch Trubisky last year and saying, yeah, Mitch, he seems to be our guy. They now hate him and want him gone. So
there's a meatpacking place. Sean hates when I bring it up on Superfans, but I do, that I pass going to work. For the past few weeks, you know what it said? At this point, do we bring Cutler back? Like, that's just Chicago for you. Like, if you're doing well for us, we love you. If you're not, the pitchforks are out. Get them out of town. Like, that's just who we are.
But it's one of those things where...
And if you win a championship, you drink for free.
Yeah.
Free drinks and free food for life.
Yeah. And it's crazy because as excited as Cub fans are right now, and as much love as they have towards David Ross for the couple of years that he was with the club, and for obviously the one important year that he was with the club when they won it in 2016, I hope that's not lost.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the saddest thing would be for a guy who went from being so revered in the city of Chicago to, if he were to just fall by the wayside as any other guy who didn't get the job done, so he's been outcast by the city. I would hate to see that happen because he does seem like a really good guy, and he has been such I think, a staple for Chicago Cub fans and the city of Chicago as well, I think.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that this is a good thing for the Chicago Cubs. I want us back in the playoff, and it sucked this year watching playoff games and being like. And that's why I feel like I want the Nationals to win, is because I feel like what they're doing right now is how I felt pre-World Series about the Cubs, where it's like I watched their game where Howie Kendrick hit that home run, and I'm like, God, if I was a National fan, would this feel like when Schwarber hit that home run against the Dodgers, or when Miguel Montero hit the home run against the Dodgers? Like, is that the emotion that they're feeling? It's like, I don't get to feel that because my team's not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the last moment I have of them is a 3-1 shit loss at home against the Brewers, and then a 2-1 loss where we lost it in 13 innings to the Rockies. So, I mean, I hope this is a good thing. I hope the Cubs do better. I can't wait to see what they do. I want to thank you, Brandon. This has been, first off, your first appearance on Superfans. And you want to know how long this segment has gone?
How long?
A 50-minute gem of a conversation. A great conversation about David Ross. And this is where you guys come in. If you haven't already, let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Cub fans, you like the move, don't like the move? Is this Theo just trying to win us over? Is David Ross going to get the shit back on track? What do you think about this hire of David Ross being the manager of the Chicago Cubs? And Dave, let's move on. Final discussion. You're back. We didn't go anywhere, you and I. We're recording the Bears and the Bulls in a row, but nice conversation Brandon and I just had about,
if you say so,
about the Cubs. And this is where I'm going to remember, I think I pitched the Twitch in that segment. So I'm going to pitch our Twitters here. So it's going to be...
Yeah, you definitely want to pitch my Twitter.
I mean, hey,
Dave _don't_tweet, where you will find no tweets.
Yeah, you're going to find
I'm
no
true
tweets.
to my name.
I'm at Ricky Widmer. Most Valuable Podcast is at Most Valuable Pod. Also, twitch.tv. I always want to say .com, but it's .tv. / Most Valuable Podcast. There, I'll twitch it twice. Instead of pitch it, I'll twitch it twice. But let's talk about the Chicago Bulls. And
see what I got to put up with?
If you haven't seen it, I did a Bulls reaction to the first game. Going to do one to the game after I watch it when I get home eventually, because it's DVRing right now, although I see the score right now, 81-79 at the end of the third as we're recording this. Not a good game one. Before we get into what I really want to talk about, I just want to ask you, Dave, because you haven't vented yet, your thoughts after the loss to the Charlotte Hornets. Buzz City.
I did not see that coming. I had some expectations that we'd be able to hit a 3 that game.
You wouldn't say the two guys that thought the Hornets, the one team we'd be surprised, you and I, if they were not in the top 3 of the NBA draft.
That's not to say they won't be in the top 3 of the draft still. They got a lot of games to lose. But the Bulls sure are giving me some concerns because this was a group that was supposed to, last year, everybody gets their minutes because, everybody's hurt. So it's like, okay, you get a little bit of playing time here, you get more playing time here. This year was the put it together now, and we did not put it together as much as become a turnstile on our defensive end. Not loving that. There's a lot of room for improvement. That's the upside. There's room for improvement.
You can only go up. The ceiling is the roof.
I don't understand how we can miss all the threes. I feel like someone cursed us though. Like our shooting, some of that shit just should have gone in.
Except for your boy Ryan Arcidiacono, he was 2 of 2 in that game.
What do you expect? What do you expect from Archie?
Him and Thad Young were the only ones with good 3-point percentages,
and they both had good games. But it doesn't matter because we went on that run, end of the third, start of the fourth, and built up that lead.
We're up by 10 in the fourth.
Built up that lead. And then, Coby White makes 2 dumb mistakes back-to-back, and the Boylan not having it. Bench him. Get over your kid. I'm putting in the veterans. And then we just start choking.
The veterans minus Sato. Because Sato wasn't in there.
Then we start choking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Chris Dunn got a lot of minutes at the end to try to contain. The offensive weapon, oh, God, what's his name? Their backup point guard. Graham.
Yeah. Devonta Graham or Devon Graham.
Yeah, that is. You got to bring in the big guns and Dunn to
Devontae Graham.
Dunn to try to put the clamps on him. That was an interesting call. Our offense ran so poorly in the last 4 minutes.
Well, and that's why last thing about the game I do want to ask you because I needed no one in the comment section of my reaction video answered my question.
Sure.
And I need somebody to tell me, if I'm a fool for it.
Yep.
When Zach had the layup at the end of the game to make it by 1, should we have just gone for a 3? Am I stupid for thinking, we were shooting bad, let's try a 3 to tie it?
Literally makes me question his basketball IQ. We have time on the clock. Let's get a 3-pointer up there because you
even
did
if
a
you
layup.
miss it and tip it in.
Well, yeah, you always have the tip in. But by doing what he did and going for the layup, you gave us less time to get a harder shot now. Think about it, kid. Think about it. Because you got to
get the steal and then just chuck a shot up.
But you got to get the steal, but also you got to get the distance out to the 3-point line.
Yeah, if there's enough time to take a dribble, you might just have to get it and chuck it.
It's just dumb.
Okay, I'm not alone.
No, they should have ran a set to go for a 3. But they literally couldn't hit their shots all night.
Just give it to Archie.
It looks like it continues for tonight. As of right now, they're 9 of 34 from 3, shooting that cool 26%.
Whew. I mean, that's less than game 1. But let's try to talk about something on a lighter note. And the reason why I'm asking this question, which is the title to our YouTube video for this, is I was listening to Bulls Outsider, our Outsiders. Fucking love those guys.
They're great.
And apparently year 2, I got to catch it. I have to up my recording thing to do an hour instead of a half hour because I got to watch one of their segments. I just Apple Podcasts. That's where I get most of their stuff. Apparently they have an intro this year with them and the Bulls players, and Lowry pushes 2 of them.
I love it.
And kind of strong arms. But one of them, I can't remember which one, they did kind of like what we did for the NBA season, but for the Bulls, bold predictions. And one of them got me thinking. Because Coby White, did he make some rookie mistakes in game 1? Of course. But if you look at how he played overall, 17 points ain't bad. Yeah, the threes, he made his first 3, and I was like, all right, Coby, go get it. Oh, wait, he missed his next 3. And one of them was hey, Lowry's got Terry Rozier on him. Nope, just going to jack a 3. That's what I do.
He was feeling it.
And then the best comment on Bulls Outsiders, he accidentally fell into 7 assists. He had 7, but he accidentally fell into them.
Is it bad that I sort of agree with that?
Yeah, because he wasn't actively looking for them. One of them threw out for their bold prediction, though, that Coby White can win the 6th Man of the Year award as a rookie. Just basically, can he? Can he win it? Or is this something that we're trying to talk something positive after game 1? So I guess it's Coby White.
We are reaching. So I'm going to open my part of the segment with saying we are reaching on this one.
Okay.
Maybe. So here's the deal. He is he seems like a good scoring guard on the court. I feel like the pairing of him and Chris Dunn.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
It actually seems to work out pretty well for us after game 1. Game 2, haven't gotten to watch yet, but we'll get to that later. So I'm very curious to know how that'll play out. But he is confident with the ball in his hands, and he seems to move really well with it. He has good speed, good tempo, and his movement actually sometimes like he can stop on a dime and kind of pull back. Like he's got some good handles. I like a lot about his game. He can score at will, which is great. Some of the shots he shouldn't shoot, but that's a different kind of problem. So no, I think he can get the minutes. I think he can get the points. The big thing is dethroning Lou Will. Hard to do.
I mean, Derrick Rose is making his case.
Dethroning the second option from the Clippers bench unit in Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Hard to do. Derrick Rose is going to be a starter in like a week. I'm sorry. Reggie looks like ass out there. Even though I love the pairing of Derrick Rose and Luke Kennard together off the bench doing dirty work for the Pistons, I still don't think that Reggie will keep his job starting because he has just not played well. And I get it. Blake's not there. You're expecting some better contributions from guys, but when you got Derrick Rose stepping up for you and Andre Drummond have a Wilt Chamberlain game to open the season, that 30-20 game? I know it was like 32-20 something, but yeah. Still. No, there's a lot of very good names that are going to be in the running for sixth man of the year this year, the way it's going to lay out. You still got to deal with Spencer Dinwiddie. Very good player. Was in the top 5 last year for that 6-man vote. So I think that it's a pipe dream, but I'm not going to rule it out. I'm going to be positive about it and say I like the potential for it.
Well, and the thing that I'm going to say is the way it can happen is, and I get that even Sean was trying to tell us, like, preseason's different than the regular season. The actual starters are playing at this point. But the thing that I kind of look at, especially if it's – because first off, I like the pairing of Chris Dunn and Coby White.
Yep.
Because Chris Dunn now doesn't have to be like, oh, I've got to force the issue. I don't have to, all right, I guess I'll force the issue offensively. No, I'm just going to worry about my defense. I'll score here or there, like when I feel like it. But Coby, you can be aggressive offensively. I'll be aggressive defensively. It's kind of like the odd couple out there.
Yep. If we could duct tape them together
and be one player.
Great player.
But if we see the amount of stats that we saw from Coby in the preseason, eventually, I'm not saying like game 2, game 3.
I mean, game 2 is not off to a bad start either.
Yeah, but if he's scoring like 20 points a game, which isn't that far off from 17, because I mean, you look at Lou Will 2 games into the year against the Lakers, did a really good job, 21 points, 8 of 14. That was 57% from the field.
Yep.
Against the Warriors, took less shots, hit less shots, obviously, 5 of 11. Still had 22 because he went to the line for 11 free throws in that game.
He abused them driving. Yeah, it was dirty.
I mean, if Coby White can average 20, he can. That is enough for me to have him throw his hat in the ring.
If this kid averages 20, we got other. Yeah.
No, I'm saying if he can do that, the question is, can he do that? Because Coby White even showed in this one game the highs and the lows. How it's going to be inconsistent game-wise with him, and it's also going to be inconsistent season-wise with him. He might have a 17, but then may have a 4 or a 5 or a 7. Like, I'm expecting
and our coach may also decide to, play him for 5 minutes or play him for 40 minutes.
Chris Dunn deserves minutes because I got to reward him. Here you go, Chris. Yeah, hey, coach, we're trying to win a game
Our rotations at the end of that game made me, I was screaming at my monitor.
He knows we're winning, right? And that Chris Dunn is not that good at basketball.
I don't.
He had a good player here against the Hornets, but even though they beat us, they're the Hornets.
Oh, one of the things I want to toss out there is totally unrelated, but I'm gonna
go ahead.
Anyway, put it on you live.
The venting.
So we talked, not even venting. Discord, great conversation came up. Prime, just toss out the Discord again.
$1 tier.
I think we should do a live watch with Discord. Like, I don't know if it's a once a week, but like at least once a month.
With Discord or just on Twitch?
No, with Discord. I want to be talking to our Discord group, and we're going to open up voice in Discord for special occasions. Like, let's watch a game together.
Let's do it.
I'm all in. everybody seems positive
You want to know what I love?
And just live reactions, live shit talk.
You want to know what I love most about that?
Yeah.
Is, so this is going to be, it's how, so you guys know I'm a huge fan of Kinda Funny. It's like, they always mention, this is a moment on the podcast where we tell them how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
This is a conversation we're going to have here on the podcast that people might be like, hey, have off.
This is definitely a Coby White discussion.
This is our podcast. We talked about Coby.
We'll
get back to it.
And the thing is, I was watching the Bulls game,
Yeah.
and it was like Sam and me and Jake and Retro. We're all talking to each other about the game. We're all experiencing it together. And it was like, I just tossed it. I was like, would you guys be down for this? And they're like, fuck yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna ask the commish up top.
I would
go through Ricky.
I would love to do it. It would have to be a game that, because
we'll agree on the game.
There will be some games where it's like, it's a fucking Monday.
Right.
And I've got
we all got shit in our lives, man.
Like, that's the even thing I hate about, like, when I was doing the fan reaction was I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do it where it's like I'm watching the game and then boom, right after the game it gets up. It's like, fuck it. Might record it the day after some cases. But yeah, I would love that. Plus, patreon.com/mostvaluable-podcast. That $1 tier gets you into that.
Yep.
$1 tier.
And we could stream it like a second screen experience kind of a thing.
Yeah, where they could see us, but it could be for only patrons. Like, we would have it. I think there's a way on Twitch, because the way Kinda Funny does it is, so let's say they did this podcast, before and after they do a pre and post show that is only for patrons.
Right.
We just got to figure out how to do that. Like, is that a partner thing that you get that thing for? Like,
maybe.
Is it not? That's what we'd have to look into.
We'll look into that in the future.
Yeah,
but
even if it's just us on Discord talking to them while watching the game.
That's the plan. It's just let's just get going.
Let's do it.
We already do.
But here's one thing I want to ask you about the Bulls, because the Coby White thing isn't a super long discussion.
Yeah.
Another thing that was thrown out there by Bulls Nation, if this continues to be a trend and we question rotations, do we eventually not have a mutiny by the players, but a mutiny by the fans?
Seat.
Could this be Boylan's last year if A, we don't succeed, and B, the rotations are terrible like they were in game one?
Yes. Hot seat is real. Like, this is a team that should, in the East, be competing for a playoff spot.
But is
and
it
I know,
hot
one
seat
game in.
like, oh, well, next year's his last, or like hot seat like, no, he's fired at the end of this year?
We moved on pretty quickly from Hoiberg and Hoiball. I don't know that this team's going to take shit and, you know, let them go for a whole season. If this team struggles mightily for the first 2 months of the year, I think by Christmas we're talking about it. I think it could be the Lou Will situation all over again, except that had nothing to do with it because Lou Will was, Blatt was winning games. This is not that. We're going to be losing games, and he could
mean
get
the Ty Lue
Ty
situation.
Oh,
I was like, Lou Will. I was like, what Lou Will
You
situation?
brought up Lou Will's sixth then, and it just stuck. But yeah, Ty Lue, Dave
Ty
Blatt
Lue situation.
You know, I just think it's a case where we could see a midseason firing. Yes. I don't know that he will get through the end of this year. I don't know that he will get through next year, but I think that this team has expectations, and to struggle out of the gates is a sign. And if it continues, I'm not pulling the cord after 4 games. We're not the fucking Suns. We're not childish in our front office. We're not idiots. But what we are going to do is give this a chance. And if he looks like this team can't put together, then we need someone else in here, because each one of these guys on their own is extremely talented. And we've seen that. We've seen that out of them. And if he can't figure out how to put that on the court at the right time, then that's on him.
Is it and I know we're talking about this just after game one, but is it all on him? Is it a rotation thing? Is it, because part of me too in game one was like, Zach not coming out, like the only one who came out to play right out the game was Lowry. Like, Lowry came out like, hey, man, I'm playing a basketball game. Let me attack the rim.
Couldn't hit a shot, but man, could he attack the rim.
Couldn't hit an outside shot. But basically, it just became, he'd do it, Zeller do it. He would do it, Zeller with the slam. Like, I saw some slams from Cody Zeller that I didn't know he had in him.
Oh, Cody Zeller got old man game.
There was that one, he one-handed it, and I was like, ooh, I got to rewind that and watch that again.
Now, what does that tell you about the Bulls' defense?
Ole. Well, it also didn't help that, like, there was one play. Zach had 3 fouls at this point.
Yeah, he knew. He was getting picked on.
He did that Olay defense.
Yeah.
And was like, hey, Wendell, you try to do it.
Yep.
And it's like, I can't be mad at you because I'd rather you do that than pick up a fourth foul. But, like, what happened to this thing you said in the preseason where you're like, you worked on your defense?
I can't not smile because I know the exact play. It's just permanently going in my head right now.
Because then they replayed it and Stacey talked about it. And it's like...
It's embarrassing to be called out for, but I agree with his decision because he did get called on some tic-tac bullshit earlier. And, like, shit, we even saw Jokic. Jokic started the game, had 4 minutes played and 3 fouls, and his ass got sat down. And that's going to be one of the guys who's going for MVP this year, according to Sean Anderson.
Yeah. Well,
so,
you
like,
get that
these
many
refs,
fouls 4 minutes in, like, you got to sit.
The refs are just overly sensitive right now. The Sixers game was awful. Like, Jake and I were going back and forth, like, they're calling everything to start the season.
But is it like, and I'm going to relate this because I'm the teacher.
They better relax.
Is it like in a classroom where
set the tone?
You come in day one out of summer, here are the rules, and for the first like month or two, you're hammering down on those rules. No expectations. And then you just take your foot off the gas a little bit. Like, okay, I hammered them down. Here's the expectation. Now I don't have to be as dickish about those rules anymore. Is that what we're seeing from these refs? Is it just, hey, we're going to set the precedent right up front, and then a little bit into the season, we're just going to back off?
I desperately hope so, because I don't think I can take a full season of the amount of, I mean, the volume of calls is insane, but the types of calls that we're getting as well, whole lot of bullshit. Did you see the penalty that got called on, it was Luka and who are they playing in the first game? Why can't I remember who Dallas played game one?
Oh, they beat them. They destroyed them, not the Knicks.
I literally have to look at their the Wizards.
The Wizards.
It was him and Bradley. Him and Bradley Beal get into it a little bit.
Yeah, I
and
saw
like
that.
the ref tees them both up, and they're like talking shit to each other, walk away smiling. They're both having a good time. And, like the ref gives them the tee, and Bradley Beal just goes like.
Didn't Beal get ejected? Beal
waved off the ref when he's teeing him up. Like they're like it's like 50, maybe 10 feet away, and like Beal and Luka are just shooting the shit. Like still going at it a little bit like with words, but they're having a good time. Yeah. And the refs, doing the TU, and Beal just like waves him off, like go fuck yourself.
Like doesn't matter to me.
Exactly. And he gets tossed for it. I'm like, what the? He gestured in your general direction. That deserves a tech and to throw him out of the game. These refs are insane with power right now. Yeah. And we've done nothing but not nothing. We've complained about refs more in the last 4 years than we have my entire childhood growing up.
Who's worse, NBA refs, NFL refs? Or are they the same? Or is a zebra a zebra?
NBA refs can change a game and can win a game for a team. Yeah.
Especially with an ejection. Like, they can just eject you because they don't like how you looked at them.
They can hit you up with the small fouls early on and fuck with your minutes, which means they can throw off the momentum of the game. They can throw off rotations.
Whereas in football, it's like, I can't inject you unless, like, hey, it's a targeting penalty.
Yeah, and even then, like, you got dicks stepping on people's heads and shit, jamming them to the ground, and somehow don't get tossed. Yeah. And, don't unplug things. My ears went weird. Yep.
Okay.
That hurt. Did not feel good, Chief.
I just unplugged mine.
Yep, no, like... that got rid of my right ear, and it went like double in the left. It hurt. NFL refs literally can fuck up the biggest play of the game. Like that's the problem is they can fuck the biggest play of the game up, but up to that point, it's really hard for them to control a game. I guess if they want to get ticky-tack,
or depending on what every foul
play
they
has
call,
holding.
It's like, okay, it's a T, he gets a foul shot, and you get the ball back.
Well, there's that in the NBA, but like in the NFL, like every play has holding. If you want to call it, you can call it. Every kickoff return has blocking or holding.
Ashtray Flowers, hands to the face.
Hands to the face.
This is hands to the face.
There are penalties every single play. I just wish they would only call the ones that were actually relevant to the play instead of the bailout calls or the bullshit. Like that's the problem with NFL. Yeah. NBA, it's constant action, so it's a harder job to do. I will admit that. Yeah.
I want neither
egos.
Job. Like, I want neither job.
Who's that dickbag who is a MLB ump who everyone
Joe
hates?
West.
That's the problem.
The one that makes the game about him. It was, didn't we have also in the NBA, he's retired now, he reffed so many Bulls Heat playoff series.
Oh.
Also, short, bald, white guy.
Yeah, I know.
He's the one that made the whistle and like gave the ball. To grab it. Like, I think it was Jimmy. He gave the ball to him and immediately ripped it out of his hands. It's like, what is this guy doing?
No, I agree with you. It's just that when they have that type of an ego, when umps, refs, It just, ego kills me because you should not be a part of the game. You should be there to make sure the game goes smoothly.
Joey Crawford.
Joey Crawford.
I'm like, it's going to kill me unless I fucking look up what this...
No, you're right.
He was the one that he and Joe
But
West.
also NBA refs, rigged games and made money off of it. So there's sort of that stereotype.
There's a movie coming out about that.
I'm super excited for that.
We should go see it.
We definitely will. And we'll review it.
Yeah.
We'll do it for Rick and Johnny. But it'll be Rick and Davey.
You know what I'm thinking.
Yep.
Because, Johnny's not going to that movie.
I figured he would not be interested in it.
Any final thoughts about the Bulls, Coby
Sports
White,
ball.
or anything?
Coby White, final thought is the same as my opening thought. No long shot, but it's hope. And that's what, as a Bulls fan, we need right now.
We need a ton
as we
of
are
hope.
Losing to Memphis with 5:40 to go in this game in the fourth quarter.
As I quote A Knight's Tale, hope is what guides us.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's got to guide us a long way because this season after game 1 does not look like it's going to be a good one. But let us know, obviously, what you guys are thinking down below in that comment section. Bulls fans, are you...
We're 10 to 38 from 3.
You're not even we're not even optimistic. And I'm looking at the score, and at this point, 5:40 left, and we're down 2. We're in the fucking game again.
We're down 1 now. We're down 1 now.
Okay, here... We're extending this segment by one more question because you just sparked something in my head. While watching that Hornets game, do you think this Bulls team is going to be the biggest problem of come out of the game slow, struggle in the first half, then they go into halftime, it's like fire lit under their butt, and then boom, they come back in the second half? Because this is now, I haven't even watched the Memphis game yet, but just watching the score, it's kind of the same thing. We're trailing throughout. We're making a surge late in the second half. We're pulling it close. This team can't be just a second half team. Am I wrong?
No, you're correct.
Or is it too early to make that?
But it's too early. I'm not there yet. We need way more basketball. The sample size is too insignificant.
Okay. Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Make sure to hit us up on patreon.com/Most Valuable Podcast. Bulls fans, $1. You can watch a Bulls game with us and talk to us. We definitely will do that for not just one game, but a couple games. $5, you can suggest questions. $10, you can join the podcast talking about what you would like to talk about. Also, follow us and sub to us at twitch.tv/Most Valuable Podcast. Want to thank my good friend Dave for coming in, being here. Sean will be here next week on Superfans. We'll talk more Bulls, more
Got
Bears,
booger?
more Cubs. Yeah, it's sitting in there, but I don't want to pick it. It's just itchy. So I'm just going to scratch it a little bit. Yeah, that too. And I'm not also in my car. Where most people pick their boogers
they really
in the
do.
car. We were
It's
talking
weird.
about that.
You're in a glass box. People can see you pick your fucking nose.
But
it's weird.
Thank you guys for watching.
Just
Thank
don't
you
eat
guys
it.
for listening. And as always, have a good day, everybody.